Does Harry and Meghan's UK return mean a reunion for the Fab Four?
I'm so happy that Mark Dolan's here today. And in classic Sussex chaos, who's lying? Was Meghan actually offered a new role from Guy Ritchie? Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And joining me today is broadcaster and host of The Mark Dolan Show, Mark Dolan, with all the latest news from the Prince and Princess of Wales. Mark, I mean, you're on the ground in New York. What's the sense with Harry and Meghan leaving the States? Do you get the sense that Americans are relieved?
America is such a happy country at the moment. You've got lots of challenges in the United States. You've got a president that half the country love, half the country hate. There's an unpopular war in the Middle East being conducted, which is pushing up inflation and gas prices. But none of that matters because the Americans are free of the burden of Harry and Meghan, the grifters, with their sob story, with their victim narrative. The United States is an extraordinary country, crafted out of bare wilderness just 300 years ago. Look at it now. I'm in the greatest metropolis in human history, New York City. Everyone's got a smile on their faces. And the reason why is because they've contributed nothing to American life, only bad headlines and actually embarrassment for the American people. So when I'm talking to locals here in the Big Apple, they're saying, you are welcome to those two, okay? Knock yourself out because we've had 6 years of this, 6 years of spin about the As Ever brand, which is not selling the jam and the flour sprinkles. All of that inventory is gathering dust in a Netflix-sponsored warehouse. The idea that there were any big productions coming via the Netflix broadcast deal, forget about it. The charitable stuff, a complete dumpster fire. The Archwell Foundation effectively shuttered. So Harry and Meghan have failed in America. The Americans know it, they know it, and they're going back to England. And I think the plan is to be royal again because that's all they've got.
I do have to ask you, will you?
Chat. I've got an angry lady that just said, go Harry and Meghan. She said, stop it. Lady who's very nice.
Yeah.
But let me tell you that I've coined a term on the Mark Dolan Show, Kinsey, and I call it the Meghan mind virus.
That's right.
And it's people who it's a little bit like the woke mind virus, but much worse. And it's when you think that Meghan is a great actress, a great TV host, a great cook, a great humanitarian, and a wonderful public figure. That lady's got the disease. I may cure her later over a couple of beers.
Are you going to grab me some fake Chanel while you're on the streets of NYC?
Yes, I'm going to do that. I also have some stolen electronic goods for you from a guy on Madison Avenue. And the other thing you're going to get is counterfeit handbags from Gucci. I mean, you're going to be showered with fake goods.
I love it.
Kinsey,
I love it.
Because you're worth it.
Well, thank you. Let's talk about the antithesis of fake goods. Let's talk about the Princess of Wales. We love her. She was all smiles alongside Prince William at Sunday church service as the royals are enjoying their holiday at Balmoral. Now, Sarah Vine says the original Fab Four is long gone. And let me ask, do you agree with her? She says her replacements for the Fab Four are Queen Camilla, Princess Anne, Duchess Sophie, who we absolutely adore, and Princess Catherine, four women defined by elegance, grace, and perseverance. What's your take there?
Yes, I mean, Harry and Meghan's royal return is a bombshell for the Waleses, as we know. I mean, the only real winner that I can identify from the UK return is Harry himself, because he doesn't like America. He doesn't like woke California. The climate doesn't suit him. So Harry's the only winner. King Charles is the loser without realizing it because he's been so naive to roll out the red carpet. We know that Meghan's the loser because she's got nothing in England. No family, no friends, no job, no network. So only Harry's the beneficiary, but the real victims are going to be William and Catherine, because essentially the trolls, Harry and Meghan, who have made life a misery, in my opinion, for the Waleses, will be back in the UK. They'll be closer to home with this rival royal court. So it's a big headache. But so far, so good, Kinsey. Because what we've seen the Waleses do, as you mentioned, that lovely church appearance, they are God-fearing Christians. They're very dignified folk. And they're going to have a respectful silence. It's worked really well so far. And they're going to be deafening in their silence in the months ahead. And yes, Harry and Meghan arriving in the UK is certainly a problem for brand Wales because it is a rival royal court. And whether you love Meghan and Harry or hate them, they're very good at making headlines and grabbing column inches. But that's okay, Kinsey, because William and Catherine don't need column inches. They don't need headlines. They don't need money. They don't need sponsors. They don't need clicks. And they're not craven narcissists. So they don't need even the supply to their ego of attention. So I think what's going to happen is that the Walesers will say, yeah, no problem. Harry and Meghan, you can be on the front page of every newspaper every day for the rest of the time. And what we'll do is be an incredible royal couple, and we will prepare to become king and queen. That's our gig.
Now, there are reports that Harry has been lobbying the new government for the automatic armed guards. And a lot of people are saying they think that they get the sense that Harry's going to get this, despite, them having 9 former prime ministers that they're having to protect. But Mark, what about the increase in threats that the Prince and Princess of Wales receive regarding Harry and Meghan? I mean, there were analytically proven increases in harassment online to William and Catherine after the Oprah Winfrey interview. More generated in real life after the Oprah Winfrey interview. Why aren't we more concerned about protecting the future king and queen from Harry and Meghan than tax dollars, UK tax dollars going to 2 people that have previously quit that country and that aren't necessarily committing to the UK long term?
Well, Kinsey, you're so right to ask this. And the truth is that William and Catherine need as much protection as the king and queen. Because not only is William what I would call king-elect, because although Charles is responding well to his cancer treatment, he's an older man, he still has the disease, William needs to prepare to be king. And if you are king-elect and Catherine queen-elect, well, then it's the same in US politics. Once you win that election in November, you're getting ready for the White House. So he needs, William and Catherine, they both need the same protection as the king. And I don't care how many taxes I have to pay to make sure that those 2 incredible people who are central to the constitution of the country to be safe. I'm going to make myself very unpopular now, though.
I know you are.
This is gonna be ugly, and it's a huge roadblock for our friendship and indeed my relationship with your army of viewers, because I am well known to be an arch critic of the Sussexes, so much so that I experienced a wild attack from Harry and Meghan for daring to do journalism and expressing my concerns about a rival royal court and what may happen with the next generation when they're older, Archie and Lili and Louis, Charlotte and George. Perfectly reasonable. In fact, great journalism and great judgment on my part. What happens? The Sussex public relations machine, which never sleeps, comes down on me like a ton of bricks. But that said, for all of the issues I've had with Harry and Meghan, I believe that when they're in the UK, they need armed royal protection. Now, I'm furious that it's going to come out of my taxes from the enormous profits of the Mark Dolan show, which grows every day. But the issue you've got, Kins, is that Harry is King Charles's son. And it doesn't matter whether you give up your royal duties. It doesn't matter whether you move to the United States or South Africa or Timbuktu. That is something that happened to Harry at birth that he didn't choose. Yes, he chose to leave his frontline royal duties, but you can't give up your surname. You can't give up your DNA. And I just think, and we've talked about it in the past, that whilst it sticks in the claw for me for them to have armed royal protection, and whilst I've been told by Di Davies, former head of royal protection, and my good friend Ken Worf, Diana's former bodyguard, they both said, look, this desire for armed royal security got nothing to do with their safety. It's an ego trip for Harry. All of that is true. But can you imagine the headlines? Can you imagine the fallout if, may God forbid, anything happens to Harry, Meghan, or the kids? And that's why I think in practical terms and politically and in PR terms, they're going to have the armed cops.
Oh, you're killing me over here. You're killing.
You've got to listen, help me. Everyone disagrees with me. And so that's why I want you to push back.
Okay. I mean, it's my feeling, it's my personal feeling that part of the reason for this potentially temporary move, because I feel like I've seen them courting Australia much more aggressively than the UK, is because Harry wants to be given this. Harry wants to be given this armed security. So one of the reasons they told him no was that he didn't live there. And so he's going to move there without his family's permission. He's going to force the issue. And then I get frustrated that we're giving him what he wants when I feel like he's being manipulative.
I know. And all of that is true. It's disgusting for him to get this armed royal security. But my background is actually in current affairs and politics, and I have a politics degree. And so much of this is political. And it's about the optics of Harry and Meghan's safety. And I mean, I think that if something, God forbid, happened to Harry, I think it could bring down the monarchy and, in fact, the whole constitution of the country, because the headlines would be, he wanted security. Then this terrible thing happened. And King Charles and the UK Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have, God forbid, blood on their hands. So that's just how I view it, is politically. I think it's just too big a headache for them not to give Harry and Meghan the security. And I mean, because otherwise, what's going to happen? And Meghan can't just live in this house in near the Windsor estate or in Althorp and then go to Whole Foods once a week. They're going to have busy lives. They want to take the kids to school. They want to go to the theatre. Meghan's going to go for auditions, presumably. She's going to have meetings in London. How do they do that without some kind of protection?
Well, I mean, if I were the UK government, I'd say, Harry, if you're that concerned about your safety, you could start by not going to Ukraine. Keep your butt at home.
It's 100% true. And just a couple of years ago, Harry was in China, which is a dangerous totalitarian dictatorship. They spent time in Mexico, which is a beautiful country, great people, but you've got kidnappings, drug cartels, gangs. So you're so right. I'm never going to deny the hypocrisy. I'm never going to deny that morally they don't deserve it, or even intellectually they don't deserve it. But it's the realpolitik that you've got to look at that scenario, that if anything were to happen, there would be hell to pay. And the issue you've got, of course, probably the worst case scenario, Kinsey, is that an attempt is made on the safety of Meghan, Harry, or Archie and Lili. At which point, can you imagine what the Sussex PR machine will do with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be unreal. Let's transition. I mean, we're still talking about Archie and Lili a bit here, because Thomas Markle has spoken out and said he's hurt and upset after learning that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are moving their children to the UK. He says he learned via watching CNN with the rest of the world. He's actually in the United States recovering and rehabilitating after the loss of his leg, after his leg amputation below the knee. He says, quote, "I'm hurt and upset that she doesn't give a damn about me, even though I'm in hospital. Meghan used to love me and was always a daddy's girl. And now it's like I don't exist. I have never met my grandchildren, and now they're leaving America. One day, those kids will ask about their other grandfather, the one who isn't king, and the one that Harry and Meghan are apparently ashamed of." Also, when you look at pictures of young Lily, she looks exactly like Thomas Markle. Lily is especially going to be curious as to why she wasn't introduced to this grandfather that looks so much like her. And I thought it was so sweet because he said, "I hope they know how much I wanted to meet them." Mark, that is vicious.
It is vicious. And the Thomas Markle Sr. story is not going to go away. And we talked about PR in regard to Harry and Meghan's security. Well, what about PR in regard to Meghan's father, who is a kindly and sincere old man who had a glittering career in Hollywood as an Emmy Award-winning lighting director, who introduced Meghan to the world of showbiz, who sent studio sponsored limousines to her school to take her from school straight to his place of work when he was doing long hours on shows like General Hospital. She got a taste of stardom. She watched people acting. She learned about the craft of TV production. And let's not forget, we had the dance classes, the private school in Los Angeles, elite level. We had the cost of Northwestern University. The total figure for Thomas Markle's investment is Meghan is reported to be $750,000. That's money that poor old Thomas Markle would love to have now as he recovers from a life-threatening scenario, which led to the loss of his left leg. This poor guy has been treated horrifically. And I think Meghan has underestimated just how damaging this will be to her brand. And as I mentioned to you before, God forbid anything happened to Harry and Meghan in the UK. Well, God forbid anything happens to Thomas Markle Sr. Because if he passes, having never met his grandchildren or his ridiculous son-in-law, Harry, there will be hell to pay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there truly will be. I don't even think that that they accept that the consequences of that will be very nasty headlines. And we have the receipts, the blogs and the Instagram posts, the loving posts Meghan Markle used to write about her father. We know how she used to feel about him. And he said to the Daily Mail, "I will never stop loving my daughter, but I will never understand why she turned her back on me." Those words are going to haunt us after he's gone.
She'll never live it down. And this guy was caught up in a classic Sussex war of words about whether Meghan had reached out to him whilst he was in hospital. And there's such a pattern of behavior that you and I have discussed before. You remember the row over the photos at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party, an ugly spat. We know how public and ugly Sentebale got, which of course Harry lost control of to Sophie Chandauka. And we had that awful war of words between Thomas Markle and the Sussexes about whether Meghan had reached out. And at first we were being told that they didn't know which hospital he was in. I mean, this is not a big, huge city. Cebu, I think it was called, which is where poor old Thomas Markle was fighting for his life. You've got a few big hospitals, not beyond the wits of man, to find out where your old man is. Your father is currently being treated. And we got to the point where it was reported by the excellent Caroline Graham at the Mail on Sunday, who's been very supportive of Thomas Markle Sr., that Meghan did send a message to her father eventually, after claims that they tried to reach out and couldn't get through on the phone, except that they wanted an official to be present for the delivery of this missive. Now, why on earth were they looking for evidence? Because everything is weaponized by Meghan, and she's like, well, if I'm going to reach out to my father, it's going to be documented like some kind of legal transaction. What a horrible way to treat your own father. She should have been on the first plane to Cebu in the Philippines, holding his hand and caring for him. Instead, the only person that did that, two people, Thomas Markle Jr., who I really like, who I think is a big personality, a big character, and I'd recommend people subscribe to his YouTube channel. Yes, he's eccentric and he goes a little out there sometimes, which is great because Meghan's never going to sue her brother. But it was Thomas Markle Jr. and Caroline Graham at the Mail on Sunday who have been there for Thomas. And Meghan has abandoned this guy that spent $750,000 on her education, including, Kinsey, acting classes. Where's the refund?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we should also mention Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister, who said, "I'm really proud of Dad's progress. Every day is a blessing." Yeah. But you mentioned acting. Yeah. Let's go. There's already drama surrounding Meghan Markle's rumor return to acting. Tina Brown, you just mentioned Harry and Meghan constantly going to war with people. Here's another example. Claimed Meghan's proposed role in Guy Ritchie's Netflix series, The Gentleman, had been withdrawn after backlash. Meghan's team is pushing back, of course, denying Brown's account, while Brown says she stands by her reporting. And it's worth remembering Meghan was never officially announced for the show in the first place. Reports couldn't even agree on how advanced these conversations were, although the Hollywood Reporter said she was in advanced discussions and that a role was being written for her. So at this point, We have dueling versions of events, no confirmation from Netflix or Guy Ritchie, and no Meghan Markle officially attached to the gentleman. So some people are saying this is Meghan just trying to look like she's in demand, and that there probably wasn't a very serious conversation about the gentleman. What's your take on that, on the story?
It's funny, isn't it? Because we always talk about the ruthless and relentless Sussex public relations machine, which never sleeps, and it never does sleep. And they made my life a misery for over a week, but that's fine. I can handle it. I've got character and life experience and a thick skin and a swimmer's build. But here's the point, Kinsey. They have this public relations machine, but it's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's really bad at its job. I mean, the Sussexes are horrible at PR. I mentioned Sentibale. I mentioned Thomas Markle Sr. and the handling of that awful scenario when he was fighting for his life. I mentioned Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party. I forgot to mention the war of words about Buckingham Palace and whether Harry was offered a room there. And here we go again now with whether or not Meghan's going to restart her acting career. Can you please decide what your message is and then stick to it? That's what public relations are. It doesn't take a genius to work that out. And what Harry and Meghan have got to say is right. You know, Meghan's going back to acting. She's got auditions, or she doesn't. But decide which is which. And it seems like what they've done is that they've allowed this story to germinate, that Guy Ritchie wants Meghan in The Gentleman season 3. And they thought that would be good PR. But then what's happened is people were like, well, I won't watch it if she's in it. It seems like Guy Ritchie has maybe thrown a wobbly on this one. He's thinking, well, look, is this woman going to destroy the franchise of The Gentleman and stop me getting season 3 greenlit? So what's happened is they panicked. Okay, so what they've done is they floated this story that Meghan is going to have the part in a Netflix show, and that's how she's going to pay the bills now. She's going back to acting. Then it goes down like a lead balloon in the entertainment world, and the public are like, thanks, but no thanks. At which point the Sussex PR people panic and row back. It's like, own it. Yeah. Because I'm going to be controversial again, Kinsey. Now, I do agree with, are you familiar with the brilliant Times journalist, Camilla Turner?
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't she wonderful? She normally covers important things like the economy and the democracy of the United Kingdom and who's prime minister this week. But she took time out of her busy schedule to write a hilarious article about the Sussexes. She described Meghan as the worst actress in the history of the world ever. Okay, and this woman doesn't mince her words. But we're ready for me to be unpopular for a second time in your show and destroy your ratings. Are you ready for this?
Oh, God, I don't think so.
Okay. Meghan is a horrible, horrible actress. The worst. But if you are trying to make some noise for your latest movie or TV project, if you can find $2 or $3 million from your budget to give it to that outrageous grifter, you're going to make headlines. You're going to sell a few tickets. There will be a lot of noise. Meghan doesn't bring talent or integrity or any kind of creative, advantage, but you've got noise. So if you are a Hollywood producer and there's some action comedy starring Tom Cruise, if Meghan gets a few minutes in that film as the kind of drunken love interest or something, or maybe the very lowbrow, morally loose waitress towards the end of the movie, it goes back to the Motel 6. Then I think, so what I think, strangely, is that this matchup with Guy Ritchie and The Gentleman, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I think there are acting roles out there for Megs in the short to medium term.
What do you think about?
Do you not?
No. I mean, but she turned down a cameo in Suits LA. I mean, she told us specifically she was done with acting and she was closing that chapter. I think that there have been offers and opportunities. I think she has thought she was too good for them. To go back to acting tells me that they're in dire need. But I also felt like this was trying to distract from the narrative that these two were fleeing back to the United Kingdom failures, because who wants to start their next chapter with the word loser tattooed on your forehead? And Harry has had to quietly quit African Parks Charity, which we've discussed. He has quietly quit African Parks Charity. And instead of everyone saying, why didn't you clean it up? Where were you during the sexual assault allegations? Where were you during the allegations of a woman losing her child because she was beat by rangers? Instead of that, we're having a 45-minute conversation about Meghan Markle's acting comeback. So much of this sometimes I think is look over here, instead of look over here, what's really going on.
Well, you're so right. And I'm glad you mentioned African Parks, which is huge breaking news. And again, the Sussex PR people haven't decided how to sell this story, because I've looked across the press and a few of them are saying that Harry's stepped down. Well, the Telegraph are saying that actually he's been pushed out. If you look at the statement from African Parks, they're like, we are concluding our relationship with the Duke of Sussex and we wish him well. Now, you could argue that you have a 10-year tenure perhaps on the board. But like you say, why didn't he go when these headlines started to appear? Let's not forget that Harry was more senior within this charity a few years ago and remained on the board amid the most egregious claims, as you say, about these tribes people in Africa. And it's so ironic because Harry's always talking about unconscious bias and racism and, people treated badly. He obviously was not directly involved in the alleged crimes against African Parks, which they deny. But it's not a good look. And it's more bad headlines, isn't it? But I mean, what do you think? Do you think Harry did leave African Parks and step down, or was he pushed?
I would like to think that he was pushed. I hadn't seen that article. I'm going to go read it. I would like to think he was pushed because, Mark, if he voluntarily stepped down, I'm fearful that he's trying to clean up his act to force his way back into the royal fold. Does that not make you nervous?
It makes me so nervous. And by the way, I mean, we talk, don't we, Kinsey, about the financial struggles the couple now have. They've got savings, thanks to other people, thanks to the late Diana, your heroine. They've got savings thanks to the late Queen Mother. They've got savings thanks to the book Spare, which is basically making money out of throwing your family under the bus. So they've got some cash, but it's dwindling. We know the Daily Mail legal costs are now unlimited. Yikes. But aside from the money, and aside from their career woes and what the hell they're actually going to do for a living in the UK, what about those charities, Kinsey? Because it is a busted flush. So Harry loses control of Sentebale and gets told off by the Charity Commission for allowing the row to be public. He leaves or is pushed from African Parks amid the organization's allegations of abuse of African tribespeople. Then you've got Invictus, which has become about Harry and Meghan. It's my understanding a lot of the veterans are furious that it's the Harry and Meghan show now, and they're losing sponsors left, right, and centre. Archwell Philanthropies, or the Archwell Foundation, or whatever it's called this week, has effectively been shuttered. I think that the charity stuff is one of the worst aspects now of the Sussex brand. And the problem you've got is, if Harry hasn't got the philanthropist thing, what's left?
No, I know. I mean, that's such a great point. But that's why I think he's going back to the UK, where he feels like the slimmed down monarchy might need, a substitute every now and then. Now, Prince William is going to say absolutely not. But if Harry did voluntarily step away from African Parks, it seems to me like he's trying to clean up his own drama so that he will appear more attractive to, members of the royal family when he comes crawling on his hands and knees begging for a gig.
Well, it could well be. But if you read the statements surrounding Harry's departure from African Parks, which, by the way, we really ought to put it on the record that this is a massive, massive charity backed by some very generous US billionaires. Mm-hmm. And it does amazing work for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
It does when it works, but they have been found guilty of doing some of these things that they've been accused of. We can't tell you exactly what, because they refuse to allow that investigation to be made public.
Well, this is it. And it's so important that they look at that. But these charities, NGOs, all the rest of it, they've got very, very deep roots, in some of the most impoverished parts of the world. There's always corruption. There are always bad actors. The same thing happened to Save the Children, which was mired in allegations, Oxfam as well, of the abuse of people locally by people working on behalf of the charity. So no way am I defending the horrific, egregious allegations against African Parks. But let's just point out that they do amazing work on the whole, and also that we don't want to shut it down, etc. But just coming back to this issue, I mean, my head was in my hands there, Kinsey, when you said that the slimmed down royals may need help from Harry and Meghan. That is like a blood bank getting help from Count Dracula himself.
Edward Cullen.
Right? That is like Harry and Meghan helping out with the royal family is a little bit like a fox.
Well, we see that. We see that. But Harry is delusional, Mark Dolan.
Yes, he is.
Harry is delusional.
Well, I agree. And I believe it's an overdose of the flower sprinkles. And Harry is one of the greatest victims of the Meghan mind virus. By the way, I've also got a scoop for you.
Okay.
Actually, it's not my scoop. Okay. This scoop is from Kinsey Schofield, who is becoming the world's finest journalist. And Kinsey, you nailed it when we spoke on the Mark Dolan show just a few days ago, that you pointed out with Harry and Meghan coming back to the UK, Megs is going to have to spend time on her own in California because notwithstanding rumors about Guy Ritchie and The Gentleman, there's no acting work in England for Megs. So if she does go back into movies and TV, it's going to be in Hollywood. So she'll have to go to America. And you quite rightly pointed out that she'll be spending large amounts of time on her own in America. Harry will be in England. They'll be living comparatively separate lives. And I totally agree with you that it's not beyond the wit of man that this UK return paves the way for Harry and Meghan's ultimate divorce.
We are perpetually on divorce watch on the Mark Dolan show.
And it's true, isn't it? I mean, I just think what you've got here is the seeds of divorce are being sown.
They might be. I mean, watch this space. We are all puzzled by this big return to Britain. What husband in his right mind says, I'm going to take my wife back to the place that made her so physically, emotionally, and mentally ill? And that was racist towards her, and an institution that never asked her about her mental health, where she was on the verge of, self-harm and God knows what other serious allegations that, by the way, we take seriously. If those claims are made, you take them seriously. You have to. But you're right. It makes no sense. Kinsey, simple question for you. How can Meghan be happy in England? How's that possible with no job, no family, no friends, no network, no connections? Mark, I have no idea. I mean, she made her dreams come true in the United States. Multiple podcasts, multiple seasons of her lifestyle show, a reality show all about her. She got an Emmy nomination that we keep forgetting about. I mean, Meghan has made her dreams come true. She is not going to recreate that magic in the United Kingdom. There is no way that she can recreate those same opportunities for herself over there. She polls alongside Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Harry insists that she's unsafe. Why would she want to be there?
And I think there's one thing that will keep her going, and that is making trouble.
Yeah.
Because, I believe that she has narcissistic personality traits. I get told off on my show for saying that from viewers who go, stop saying that. She's a narcissist. Forget about traits. The bottom line is I'm not a medic, okay? I mean, I could have been a doctor. I think I've got the look. I think I could rock a white coat, but I'm not a medical doctor, so I cannot make that diagnosis. But I can say that there are traits of massive ego or narcissistic traits. And one of the things that Meghan's going to have a lot of fun doing is stirring the pot and making trouble. She's not stupid. So she'll be in England, and yes, there'll be no money coming in and no acting jobs in the UK. But she's going to take the kids to school and she's going to get accidentally photographed. And she'll be at the Whole Foods, or now that they're broke, it'll be the budget version, which is called Tesco. And she'll be in there looking for 2-for-1s because they're going to find the Daily Mail are looking for $30 million. But that's it. She's going to go shopping. She'll take the kids to school. She's going to go out for dinner in central London. She's going to go to the theatre. And she's going to try to penetrate the social scene. Maybe she texts Piers Morgan, tries to rekindle that friendship. So she'll throw everything at it. And yes, she'll be unsuccessful, but she'll make a lot of noise whilst being unsuccessful.
Oh, my goodness. Well, make sure you check out the Mark Dolan Show wherever. Mark, are you on podcast or just YouTube form?
I'm actually on YouTube only because I'm very lucky. I have such a strong visual image.
Yeah, you do. It's that swimmer's build.
I'm very lucky like that. I work out daily. I'm keto and then genetics.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to make sure everyone heads over.
I am going to podcast it soon.
Okay.
But a lot of people are upset about not being able to see this, which
I
understand.
So svelte. You're such a stallion. But right now you can find the Mark Dolan Show
Not
on
as
YouTube.
Gorgeous as you, Kinsey. You're the real deal.
Thank you. On YouTube. We're going to link it below. Follow Mark Dolan on social media and enjoy his trek across the United States. It's been so fun to watch. Mark, thank you so much I loved having you fill in today on Heirs and Spares. It was the most fun.
Look, it's always an honor. I'm your number one fan, as you know. You're my dear friend. And I hope that your audience are not too furious about some of my remarks around Harry's security and the idea that Meghan's going to be in Mission Impossible 10. All I'm saying is watch this space. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I think they'll forgive you because of your swimmer's build. But that's it for us. We'll see you again next time. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.